I can remember growing up hanging posters on my wall, magazine clippings of some of the stars of the sport at that time. The people that I just looked at the wall at and said, I wish I could at least compete in BMX bicycles. I wish I could someday meet those stars. Well, later on in life, I eventually started racing and eventually turned professional and ended up sitting on the gate beside those very stars that hung on my wall on the posters. I befriended many of them, and now I've been blessed. I've been blessed to have my own show, a show that will spotlight those very BMX athletes that once hung on my wall. Hear their stories of struggle, overcoming, the good times and the bad times, their stories of victory, and not giving up. These are the stories that have made them the legends that they are, and worthy of schooling all of us on my show, Hurricane Maine's BMX Legends Class 2.0. Let's get it. Hey, welcome to another great episode of Hurricane Maine's BMX Legends Class 2.0. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. All you racers out there, good luck doing your thing. And I hope you can get a little inspiration from this great guest that I got on the show today and get some motivation and hear his story. A story that I've been wanting to hear myself, and I'm glad that he's coming on to share the story with you. I want to welcome Mighty Mo to the show, Moses Tillman. Say what's up to the listeners, Mighty Mo.
Hey, what's up, Hurricane? What's up, listeners? Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Glad to have you on the show, man. I mean, it's been highly anticipated, and I mean, when I first came out with this show, just putting the word out on Facebook and everything, and you were one of the first people to respond, and Bernard Gann, Marie McGilvery, John Purse, a lot of the big names stepped up, even Terry Tennette, you know? And I'm just
Wow.
honored to have you guys just be there for you, brother. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, the honor's all mine. I'm really honored that you want to hear my story and want to share with the rest of the people out there.
Yeah, and you got a story to tell too, you know, so I want to go right into it, you know, because first of all, I want to know a little bit about Mighty Mo. I want to know where you grew up at, you know, what state and everything, you know. Let us know a little bit about how it was coming up there too, you know.
All right, well, I was born and raised south side of Chicago, just outside. I lived actually in a town called Robbins till I was 6 years old, and then from there moved to a town called Markham from 6 until I was 28. And, you know, I've always loved riding bicycles, you know, from my youngest age. I've always set up little jumps in front of the yard. Sometimes I'd make it. Sometimes I'd be coming in the house crying because I didn't, you know, make the jump or looped out and got the wind knocked out. But I always had a love for riding a bike.
So let me ask you this. Was it, I mean, growing up, you said it's South Chicago, right? It's over there. That's like R. Kelly area, isn't it? That's where R. Kelly's grew up.
I'm a little bit further than R. Kelly. I was in actually two of the south suburbs of Chicago.
Okay. But so bicycles, BMX was the thing where you rode. Was it something that all the neighborhood kids did when you were growing up? Or, I mean, I'm not familiar with the area. Were you in the hood or something like that and had to watch your bike all the time? Because I had something stolen now.
You know, in the beginning, you know, we really didn't have much. You know, from the time I was born till 6, we actually lived in a trailer in a town called Robbins at the end of the dirt road, and our backyard was actually a car junkyard. You know, so we played around the junkyards and had little, you know, crappy bikes. And I was actually 10 years old before I realized what a dipstick was used for, because we used them as swords and hubcaps as shields. We were the original Cosby kids. We had a little...
You're the Cosby kids. Oh, man. That's what
it was wild.
Oh, man.
And we had a 1970 Ford minivan that caught on fire, so we had it towed home and put in the field across from the trailer, and that became our clubhouse.
Oh, man, but that's a dope clubhouse, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, even to have the junkyard at your disposal.
Dude, we had a car gas tank. That was our boat for the ponds, across the street and down the ways a bit.
Oh, really? Wow, man. Y'all creative,
we had to. We didn't have much money, but what we did have was an imagination. It was me, my 2 older sisters, and 2 younger brothers, plus my parents in a trailer. So it was kind of, cramped quarters to, to say the least.
Right. But sometimes those things that we grow up in, or the conditions or whatever the circumstances we're in, is not what defines us, but it has a lot to do with creating us into the person that we are. For you to come from that, and still be a focused, positive man, to grow up to be able to do the things in BMX that you've done, because that shows me right there with your accomplishments that you had a very strong will about yourself. Is that something that was put into you as a kid, to be competitive?
My father didn't make much. He actually he was a custodian at my grade school. When I was younger, I thought it was cool, help Dad, empty out the trash cans when they came by the room. And the older I got, the more I realized that that's not really the kind of job, the career job that you want. But he did what he could do to,
Amen.
to raise his family. After the trailer, we moved to Markham and bought a $10,000 HUD home, just to have because we had to get out of the trailer at the junkyard. They were plowing the junkyard, so we had to go. So we moved to the HUD home, and I had, like I said, humble beginnings, to say the least. Right. I was on, we were on food stamps, getting our school clothes from the thrift shop. The government cheese, and a big turning point for me was when my mom got me a little cheap $25 bike from the garage sale.
Ah, really? Huh.
And I fixed the bike.
It wasn't like Bernard Gant. Now, he said he had a Western Flyer was his first bike.
Mine was rusty, and I went down to Zare, an old department store, and bought some Team Cyclite pads and a double clamp gooseneck, and V crossbar, BMX bars and a padded seat, and I thought I was good to go.
Yeah,
I was about 10 years old then.
I hear you. And so is that what started to spark your interest in BMX? That you had a bike, and you started hanging out with the kids, or what? What sparked it for you?
I got my first magazine, October '83 edition of Super BMX, and after that, man, that might as well have been a porno magazine to me.
There was something that was like gold right there, then. Right.
Man.
That's what's up, man. I mean, that's what it started for a lot of us, hanging out at the newsstand, checking out the magazines and all that good stuff, That's what it's all about, That's what I catch myself just staring in the magazines on a daily basis,
Yeah.
So that's what we did, So what started you racing, though? I mean, how did that happen? Was it a popular BMX scene in your area?
Actually, it wasn't. And, I got picked on a lot. I got bullied a lot by the kids because they'd be playing basketball and, so on and so forth. And I'd be sitting up ramps jumping the 2x4s with some crates underneath it. And, I was small and skinny, and they kind of, chased me around and, beat me when they caught me. But the bike was my getaway, and one day a buddy of mine told me about some trails, and it's back in the woods. So of course I wanted to go back there because he said there was some jumps.
Right.
So I go back there. And what do you know? You see those 3 or 4 guys back there that actually race. One on a National Pro, one on a GT, and one on a JMC. Wow. And man, I thought I just saw the biggest movie stars in Hollywood.
Wow.
Jump all them jumps.
Wow. And they're out there killing it. Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool. So that pretty much got you interested in wanting to kind of take that up then, right?
Exactly. Watching those guys, it seemed like they climbed right out of the magazine. I couldn't believe it.
That's cool, man. That flash us forward to your first race, and how'd you go about getting to that? Usually a lot of people come on the show, and a lot of other BMXers I talk to, including myself, have an interesting story about their first time racing. Was it any kind of interesting events within that, your first time racing?
Well, the funny story is how I got the bike in the first place. I'm 13 years old in 8th grade, buying the magazines every month. And one of the kids I was friends with had a gold race sink with chrome forks and Z rims. I'm like, oh man, I'd love to have that. And when you know it, he was selling it. So I'm like, dude, you know, how much for the bike? And he said, okay, $125. Wow. Well, at the time, from the time I was 11 till I was 16, I had a paper route. Deliver papers every Thursday before school and every Sunday before I went to church. So he drew up a contract saying, okay, you give me $25 every month, and the final payment had to be by the end of March '84. Oh. Now, if you don't pay me that money if you don't pay me that last payment by March, end of March '84,
wow,
I'm keeping the bike, and you don't get the money back.
Wow,
so I signed the contract, and that was it.
Wow, that's hardcore right there. That's mafia style. Like, you pay me, or it's curtains. It's curtains. Wow.
Hey. Mm-hmm. And I paid it. So, you know, fast forward to summer when I saw the guys at the trail. There was one guy, Rich Reitmeyer. I saw him out there by himself a couple days later, and he's jumping everything. And he saw me struggling to make it over a set of doubles.
Okay.
And, you know, he kind of took a little bit of time to tell me the proper way to get over. He told me to go the opposite way because the landing was a little bit better than the takeoff. So I jumped in and landed flat bottom, of course, but I made it. You know, and after that, he was my hero. That was the equivalent to feeding a stray cat. I followed him home that day.
Wow. He found him a new buddy, a new shadow then.
Yeah, you might not have wanted it, but guess what? He got it.
That's hilarious.
You know,
and you know what? I can really relate. Because I would see the older kids on the dirt bikes and everything when I was a kid. You know, that was popular around where I live, but I was riding my BMX bike, and I was just like, oh, ooh, ah. So I know the feeling.
Yeah, you know it. You know the feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of days later, I went over to Richie's house because he and I started being friends, and he told me that he had to go home that Tuesday night because he had a race that night. Okay. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, dude, every Tuesday night down in Bourbonnais, Illinois, there's a track they race.
Cool.
You know, it was run by factory rider Missy Fred.
Was that far from you? That wasn't far from where you lived then, right?
It was about 35 minutes, but when you're 14, 35 minutes might as well be 35 hours.
Yeah, like another state, yeah. And who'd you say it was ran by now?
It was run by the family of former factory mongoose rider Missy Fred and her family.
Ah, cool. Okay. So how'd you end up getting out there to it? Did you go to that event?
Well, yeah, you know, Mom threw my bike and my, you know, brothers in the van, and we made the trek down there to register. So when I got there, I saw everybody going around the track, jumping everything. I'm like, oh man, I thought I just found, man, back in the Garden of Eden or something.
Yeah, right. I know the feeling, man. And so this is your first race. Did you sign up or did you just go watch?
My very first race, I went there, you know, actually I raced the first time I was there, and I didn't know whether to be novice, intermediate. I had no idea what the classes were. Okay. And Rich was like, hey, dude, you know how to balance on the gate. Might as well just sign up as intermediate. So I'm like, all right, I guess he knows, you know, what to do.
Right.
So, yeah, well, that night, I ended up getting the third place out of 3 riders. Me and one rider crashed first moto, and he got carted off to the hospital, so I kind of made the man by default.
Oh, God. Wow. Yeah, that's how it is in novice and intermediate, though. You know.
Yes, sir.
It gets dangerous. But you got third place out of 3. So.
Yeah, and that was the last time I made the main for a long time. I got smoked for months.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you did kind of like I did. I kind of skipped up too early. I skipped from, I think it was intermediate. No, it was novice to expert. I never did intermediate. I just went on a winning streak in novice, you know, and I thought I was all awesome. You know, back in the 80s when I grew up, famous motocross racer was Ricky Johnson. And he used to jump and take his hands off the bars and everything. So I would do that. I would be beating the comp by that much in beginner, you know. That's what they called it in NBL, beginner. But then I skipped right from that. I thought I was awesome, Mo. I jumped right up to expert and got spanked. So,
it wasn't fun, was it?
No way. And so I know from how your career turned out, your intermediate career started getting better. When things turn around there for you?
Well, actually, the first race was July 24th, 1984. I started making the mains regularly in the spring of '85. You know, back then it was 5 wins to turn novice, 10 to turn X. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's do this.
Okay.
So I'm winning races left and right. And then in either August or September, my mom asked me if I wanted to go to the ABA Grands.
Oh.
You know, and at that time I'd seen them in all magazines. So, of course, I'm like, man, yeah, Mom, let's go.
Now, this is going to be your first national?
Actually, funny you asked. You know, back in '84, the Fall Nationals were in Rockford, and my mom told me that I couldn't go to a race and race unless she went.
Right.
But I wanted to go anyway, so I told my buddy Rich that I was going to go and race. So he took me up to Rockford, and I got nervous to tell him that, too nervous to tell him that I couldn't race. So I told him that my money got stolen. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to be watching. The coast is clear now. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, no, you're not coming up here and not racing. So he paid my entry fee.
Wow.
And so luckily for me, I crashed all 3 motos and didn't make it, so I didn't have a trophy to bring home to explain to my mom. So,
oh man, yeah. I guess that's a good way to tell your friends. Yeah, the only reason I didn't win is because I didn't want to give myself away. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. I got you. And so, flash all the way from that race to the Grands. So your mom's all supportive of you. That's awesome. And so she's going to get you out to the ABA Grands. That's the biggest Grands on the planet for the people, that don't know, you know. You know, that's what, I mean, NBL Grands was big, but not like ABA. Not even close.
No, the biggest race on earth.
That's
so
right.
I had 9 wins in intermediate. So, you know, I started thinking like today's sandbaggers. Well, maybe if I just hold back, I can go to the Grands and make my 10th and final win at the Grands, and then turn after and come out in '86 and see what it had for me. So for the next 2 months, all I did was race open, keeping my skills up without going over that threshold, that 10th win.
Yeah. You don't want to end up an expert at the Grands on your debut of expert.
No.
You know, but what happened though?
So. Well, evidently, math isn't my best subject because a couple weeks before the Grands, I get an envelope in the mail. I'm like, man, what's this? So I go in the room and open it up. It said, Moses Tillman, class expert.
Dun,
Dude,
dun, dun.
I started crying.
Oh.
Mom came in there, saw that envelope, and thought I was crying because I got my report card and I was about to get whooped.
No, Mom, worse. I got a race expert.
Yeah. At least the both of them would have been over with in about a couple seconds.
Yeah, now you're gonna get whooped for months. Oh God.
Yeah, the ABA should have caught a child abuse case for that one.
Oh man, yeah. How'd that go down? So you're an expert, and did you get any expert races in before the Grands, or not really?
No, that was my first time on the gate. Moto 1 15X was ABA Grands.
Oh my God, who were you racing against back then?
So I was at the moto sheet. My heart dropped. I see Chris Backus, inside line from Washington, who ended up getting on Hutch in '86.
Oh.
Sean Callahan, factory 09, and Eric Carter, factory free agent.
Oh man, are you kidding me? Oh my God.
I'm like, I'm not trying to race these guys. Oh. I want these guys autographs.
Yeah,
I want their autographs.
Right. You were sitting there, starstruck, and you got to race these guys. I mean, wow, those some heavy hitters to start out against. I mean, I tell you what, and because I want to know how that race went. And what I want to do is I want to take a break and leave everybody in suspense, and then come back and start right there where we left off and hear about how things got right there when you had to get measured up against the big dogs, okay?
All right.
Okay, bro, okay. We're going to take a quick break, then we're going to come back with more Mighty Moses Tillman, right here on BMX Legends Class 2.0.
From the ground up, I move forward. Hey, from the ground up, I move forward. Yeah, from the ground up, I move forward.
Don't want your hand-me-downs, I work to earn. What's given to me means I ain't learned. The size of the dog in the fire means nothing if the inside don't burn. Play that song with my headphones on. I don't hear noise, I'm way too gone. They don't believe in your own plan C, so let us proceed and still move on. That's blood, that's sweat, which all equates to this progress, and that's dirt from this mud. Thought I was down and out, but that's far-fetched. Every view of my reflection means progression, that's a blessing, taking lessons. Should I question this direction? My connection means I'm driven by aggression. Too much growth when I think about the outcome of life that I can't control. Born and bred with my purpose led, so ain't no choice for this soul. Got that mirror image of endless fitness, and yeah, you did this, so go flex in it. Knew your limits, it wasn't 10 minutes, so when they witness, you gon' rest in it. I don't work for my pride, confidence all inside. Trust the process, I walk in wisdom outside. Motivation, it lies to grow my success. Came up big from these burns, ain't no question, I got these gains. I don't work much in return, it means so well that I work these lanes. As time ticks, I just hit the switch and change up the gears to go full speed. My whole life I choose not to miss, but this happiness fulfilled all my needs. Top notch in that upper echelon, you look good when you glow. So take the whole world upon your shoulders and carry on with this show, they know. From the ground up I move forward, yeah. From the ground up I move forward, from the ground up I move forward. I'm built different, I feel different, my strength shows no remorse, yeah. From the ground up I move forward, hey. From the ground up I move forward, yeah. From the ground up I move forward. Cause I'm built different, I feel different, my strength shows no remorse.
Every day I'm going on. Some try to stop me, but I gotta keep pushing, I'm on. I do what I love every day with practice, no one can come in the song. The power comes forward every time I line up the beat, it's like the bomb. And I take it my chances, I gotta go get it, yeah. Send a boom to these critics, so can I get with it, yeah. Negativity is like the plague, a whole pandemic, yeah. I gotta demonstrate how I will not rank like Reddit, yeah. Can I keep it down for the count that I know is winning? Just keep it 100. Blue face, big face, tech like it's setting. True flame, who can't hot like the summer. They can't stop us, we're rolling like thunder. Nah, that's what the tat. These bars that I spit, it's hard like a cat. I'm down with the squad, we put the bird ready like Marvel, no fraud. So fill up the tank, back up and let's go forget what you think. Let go of everything holding you back. Know that you got it, the code has been hacked. Don't give up on everything, now don't look back. Just switch up the stairs like a motor come back. Change the tone as I'm just in no black. With nothing in hand, just a mind, just in facts.
From the ground up I move forward, yeah. From the ground up I move forward, from the ground up I move forward. I'm built different, I feel different, my strength shows no remorse, yeah. From the ground up I move forward, hey. From the ground up I move forward, yeah. From the ground up I move forward. Cause I'm built different, I feel different, my strength shows no remorse.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're back with more Hurricane Maine's BMX Legends Class 2.0. And we got Mighty Moses Tillman on the phone. You still there with me, brother?
Yeah, I'm right here, Tremaine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look, before we went to the break, you were telling us about, your debut and expert at the AVA Grands. I mean, what were you thinking? I think I would have just stayed home for Thanksgiving and not to this one. But it's the Grands though. You're on the gate with Eric Carter, with Sean Callahan, and who else? Run down some of those names you're on the gate with.
And then Chris Backus from Washington on inside line. That's the same team that had like Corky Gainsford and a lot of other top Northwestern guys on the team.
Okay. So it's stacked up. So how did things go for that race? For that. Inquiring minds want to know.
I felt like Crew Jones with that hockey helmet on in Grands up against all the factory guys.
Oh yeah.
But unlike him, my results were a lot different from Cruz's.
Tell me you didn't win.
I got the factory guys on the gate, and I got my little pink and white 09 uniform on from a little mom and pop Larry's bike shop out here in Illinois.
That's all right.
And, I got smoked pretty good.
Yeah, but hey, that makes it. I mean, it's supposed to go that way. Those guys been out there on the circuit for a while, working hard. If the sport came that easy to you, you may have not even been interested in going that far with it. So you got experience.
I took every loss, every lap as a learning experience.
Yeah, that's right.
I figured if they could, whatever they did, I could do it. Backing up, I didn't have much growing up, but what my parents did instill in me was work ethic and teach me if I worked hard, there wasn't anything I couldn't accomplish. So I knew that at some point I'd break through.
That's right. And that's really good that you say that. And that's for a lot of the younger riders out there and amateur riders that struggling through pro class and single A or whatever they're in right now. The little kids that may feel discouraged because they're pulling up they're playing the caboose, so to speak. They're in the back of the pack. And you just never know. What I mean? What did it take for you to go to that next level? Did you talk to someone that inspired you, or to start training more? Because I know an expert, you got to really put some work in.
Well, when I raced and got beat, I had my friend mentor Rich Reitmeyer with me through pretty much through my whole career. My early years. And if I did good, he commended me, and if I did bad, he told me what I did wrong and, quit being a little baby and get back out there. So it was kind of tough love. Yeah. And, I kind of needed that push, but, it worked.
Yeah, that's right. That's what's up. To have somebody like that. And that's why it's good for anybody to have somebody in their corner, like a mentor or someone to look up to, so you can have a level to reach to, So that's very important to have in your life. What were some of your earlier sponsors back in the day?
Well, up until '87, they were just bike shops. I had a Paramount Cyclery out of Midlothian, Illinois, and then from there, Larry's Bike Shop out of Oak Forest, Illinois, and then Park 4 Cyclery out of Park Forest, Illinois, and that was Craig Reynolds' local bike shop. So I see him up there from time to time.
Oh yeah, Dr. Smooth, Craig Reynolds. Shout out to Craig Reynolds out there. Yeah, that's what's up. And so you had those sponsors, so I know the money wasn't just flowing and everything, and it sounds like you had the fire burning in you at this time to cross over into that level of expert. I mean, so how'd you finance this thing? What kind of struggles were involved in working your way up through expert to head toward the pro ranks?
Well, how it was in the beginning, like I said, I had the paper up from the time I was 11 till 16, and since the family didn't make too much money, I had to deal with my mom that I would spend my $25 monthly paper on money to pay for one day national, and she paid for the next one. We drive all over to the country, all over to the nationals. We stay in tents. Mom would sleep in a van, and our food would be the loaf of bread and the bologna and cheese that we packed.
Wow.
So we were being Mexicans for real.
That's right. Your mom's a soldier with you, supporting their son, A lot of parents need to hear that too, And there's a lot of parents out there that support their kids, but a lot more could be more involved, And that's awesome right there. She's right there with you doing the grunt work. That's right.
Yeah, and I couldn't have done without her, because she would work 11 to 7, third shift 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., get home, get about an hour or two sleep, and then drive us to a national.
Wow.
Us meaning me and my younger brother Warren. Wacky Warren raced also from 85 until 90. So it was him and my mom all over the country, just trying to live the dream.
That is so awesome, man. That's so inspiring too, And I mean, so your brother eventually stopped racing, and I mean, what did he stop racing, or did he go pro, or was he older? I want to know a little bit about him.
No, he was 3 years younger than me. He raced from summer 85 until summer 90.
Okay. But something just kept you going in it. What drove you? What made you want to do BMX and pursue it?
Just the drive, just the competition, and just love of riding my bike.
Ah, Wow, that's awesome. You know, I didn't back in the day. I think we're close in age. We didn't get to race each other a lot, but but I did meet you when you came over to Atlanta back in the day. You know, I got Anthony Freeman introduced us and everything, and I followed you in the magazines and everything. Even before I met you, I was like, man, Mighty Mo, that's a dope name right there. You know, and you're doing some dope stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing some mighty stuff. You ripped it up out there on the ABA scene. You know, and the thing about the time you were racing in the ABA, that was a tough time. You know, as far as the competition. Sir. You know, what were some of the people that you had to compete against locally? You know, up in your area.
Well, Craig and I only raced a couple times because he's a year younger than me. Okay. You know, so we'd match up every now and then. But the big names that I raced up here would be Jamie Stansel, you know, future Olympian Felicia Stansel's father, Frank Nuccio, you know, legendary Frank Nuccio, Hector Mendez, you know, a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys. So y'all pretty much had each other to ride and compete against and everything to keep each other up for the nationals. You know, so when did you get some factory sponsors throughout your career? I know didn't you ride for Hawk at one time? Yeah, actually I did. And, you know, before I got to the point where I was getting sponsors, it took a long time to get to that point, man, because I turned expert in 85, and I didn't make my first main until August 87.
Oh, wow. So you were racing back in the day, too, because I didn't start till like 88. But so it took you that long to make a main and everything. But you were very determined then. Wow.
I was. There was a point where actually my mom told me maybe I should just race locals till I get better. And I'm like, man, Mom, I'm not going to get any better unless I'm racing against these faster riders. So she stood by me and still drove around the country, knowing good and well I'd probably just come home with just a registration sticker on my brake cable and a race event T-shirt.
Right. I tell you what, I want to ask you something else though. I want to just see what kind of things you had to overcome. I mean, were there like different things within competing, or just was it the financial part? You know, that you had to overcome to start doing good and making mains and everything? Because I know when you're sitting out there stressed on your dollars and everything out there, that can kind of make it rough too, competing on that level.
Yeah, it wasn't easy because after my paper route, I started working at McDonald's, and I was making a little bit more. But back then, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour, so the checks weren't coming in that good. And pretty much every penny that I had, I'd either use that to get to my next race, or buy a bike part. So it wasn't easy by any means. Yeah, but you did the thing, man. I mean, and then you got out there and you had some factory sponsors and everything. You rode against some big names. I was trying to remember while you were talking, did you ever go AA Pro? Did you do AA, or how was it in single A leading to that, if you did? Okay, let me back up a second. Let me tell you the turning point for my career.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Rockford Nationals 1990. I was having a really good weekend. I actually won the semi against Dave Cullinan, Robert Zanow, and Robert Fink, two really fast guys in the class at the time. Well, the BMXer came out, and I had a picture in there leading them, and the caption said, Mighty Mo Tillman had a great weekend. If he could get to more big races, and maybe even move to California, he'd be a top 5 competitor. So I was cool, getting that write-up. So fast forward to the 1990 ABA Grand. I'm just in the pit hanging out, and a kid comes up to me. Hey, Mo, how you doing? I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? I never saw him before in my life. And he said, hey, I was reading that you wanted to move to California. I said, man, I'd love to. He's like, look, I was talking to my parents, and they said if you want, you can move out to California, stay at our house for 5 months. My mom runs registration at Cole Canyon, a famous legendary track in Southern California, and you could race twice a week there, go to Orange for a couple of times a week, also to Temecula and Moreno Valley.
Wow. What?
Dude, I don't know how many people that's happened to, but for a stranger to come up and offer you to stay at his house for 5 months for free.
Months.
And his brother-in-law had a construction company, so he's like, yeah, you'd have a job when you got there too.
God.
So yeah,
Wow,
yeah, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke at first, but went out there, got there January 1991, and 2 days later went out to Reno for the Silver Dollar Nationals and won my first national.
Did you?
I won 17 to 20 cruiser that day. On the weekend, I got a first, a second, and 2/3.
That's when
Having never won a national in my life. And
oh man, I hear the Rocky music now. That's when it's turning around right there.
Man, yeah. So I'm going to the races, with this kid, the local races, and the more I stayed with him, the more shady I kind of saw how he was.
Oh really?
So I just happened to meet Paul Washington, who used to own Jammer number plates.
Okay.
So he and I hit it off. And he's like, well, hey, if you want, I got a couch you can crash on for the rest of your stay out here. So I packed up from Riverside, California, and moved out to Placentia, California in Orange County.
Wow.
So everything is going good. We're going to the track. And he's like, you know what? We got to get you a resume, dude. We got to shop you around for some sponsors. Right. So we went to Kinko's at midnight one night. Next thing you know, he's driving me around to Vans, AME, Supercross.
Wow.
Yeah, all over the place.
So he's just driving you to the places. That beats mail right there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So what was cool, I ended up getting my first frame sponsor, Supercross. And what was cool about that was nobody on the East Coast, east of Mississippi, had ever seen one before. So when I came back home with the Supercross, guys were, tripping over it.
Oh, yeah. It was like a rare thing. They'd never seen it before. That is dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went out there and holding my skills, had a nice little crew out there, had Bo Usher, Super G, Al Jefferson, and Sean Duncan, and of course Paul Washington. So that was my nice training session out in California in '91.
Oh man, I bet you were on your A game then. Out there in Cali.
Dude, I came home, got home in April. Then after that, I went to the Nationals in Topeka, Kansas, and doubled on Saturday, and won cruiser, and got a second in class on Sunday. So going to California kind of lit the fire for me, because from there on, I had a good year, and finally made the ABA mains in '91 after going for 6 years and only making it to the quarters or semis at the very best.
And so now you're ready. You're coming back for revenge now. Finished
the year national ace number 3 on both bikes.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Nag 3 on both? Wow.
Yeah.
That is dope, man. That is awesome. That is an accomplishment right there. And how did things start going after that? Did you start getting the pro bug? Start wondering if you could go make some money at this?
Yeah, going into '92, I told myself that was going to be my final year. And my sponsor in '91 was Rocky Mountain Harley Davidson. They'd picked me up because they had just lost their 19 expert Ray Luscombe to Boss. So I'm like, hey, I'll fill the shoes. So I raced for them in '91. Then they told me the end of the year that they weren't going to, continue their team. So in '92, I approached the owner, team manager of a kind of different looking bike. It was a square frame. It was called the Hawk. And I had no idea how it was.
Right.
But Pistol Pete and Brian Lowe both rode them. So I'm like, well, hey, let's go. Let's see where this is going to take me. And that was actually the best year I had in the sport.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's when I started hearing a lot about you. When you were riding that Hawk. Was that a full factory deal right there with Hawk?
It was. They took care of some entry fees, and they sent me to my first world championship. And in Brazil, in Salvador Bahia, Brazil in '92. So that was my first chance at international competition.
Yeah, man. So you're out there killing it and everything, running again. You're in the big leagues now, and now your career with Hawk, was that still an expert?
It was.
Okay.
Like I said, I told them as well as myself that was going to be my final year as amateur in '92.
Okay. So did you stick to that?
I did. It was good. I had a phenomenal year. I must say. I guess I ended up. I doubled at 3 nationals, and I tripled at 4 nationals.
Oh yeah, it was time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing good, man. You're doing good. What type of training were you doing at that time? Just riding and
I
racing?
mostly riding and racing. I started working out, but that wasn't really part of training regimens back in those days. Most of the time, just racing and riding trails.
Yeah, that's right. And out there in Cali, I bet you could ride all of the time. That's probably what just lit your fire because it's just the weather's so awesome out there, you know?
I was racing 8 times a week.
8 times? God, it's
I
only
was
7
racing
days.
Monday. I was going Monday,
They got
Wednesday,
an extra day
Thursday,
in the
Friday.
week. Oh, uh-huh.
On Saturday and Sunday, I was doing Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night.
Oh, wow. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. I thought I was doing something back in the day when I was racing like 3 times a week. Man, big difference.
But that lit the fire, and then that took me to the ABA Grants '92. I knew that was going to be my final amateur race of the year. So I went in there and signed up cruiser and class like I normally do. But then my sponsor was like, okay, hey, we got you signed up for open too, and you're on team sheet for open and cruiser. I'm like, oh man, now I got the pressure.
Yeah.
So I was racing Friday night. It was an East-West shootout where the first and second place riders in each expert class of the Gold Cup Championship raced each other. So I raced that semi and won, and in the main I crashed and cracked a couple ribs. So I was in some serious pain.
Wow.
But I didn't let that deter me. I knew I had to go out there and put on a good show, go out strong.
Yeah.
So I got on the gate. I had 120 riders in 19 and over X.
Oh my God.
So it was big.
And I remember that class being real stacked, just from reading the magazines and going to the races and everything. Super stacked. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus having my ribs taped up on top of that. So I fought through it and I made the mains.
Did you?
And the mains, yeah. Somehow I made the mains, and when the first gate dropped for that 19 and over open class, it felt like an out of body experience. I ended up winning 19 and over open, 21-25 cruiser, and 19 and over X.
Oh my God, you did. See, I
won all 3.
That's what I was telling you earlier off the phone when I was talking about getting in that zone. When you get in that zone, it's like you can't even hear the crowd around you. It's
I had beaten riders that I hadn't beaten all year long.
Oh, wow. So that was your day with broken ribs. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I guess they say I was the first one to ever triple at the ABA Grands. I ended up getting national age group #1 on both bikes, and if I would have gotten one more win that year in 19 and over expert, I would have been 92 overall national champion amateur.
Oh my God. Yeah. So you had a great amateur career then.
Yeah, I finished #1 on both bikes, amateur 5 on 20-inch and amateur 6 on cruiser, and that got me a little spot on MTV Sports also, which was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
because you're getting major publicity by then and everything, so I'm sure your sponsors were supportive of you and influencing you to move up to the next level and everything, and that's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about you moving into the pro ranks and how that was. Was it a hard transition? Or usually those top amateurs go in there doing well. Did you do that?
Yeah, my first race was Reno, '93, and Saturday was difficult. I think I got maybe a 4th and a 5th in A Pro and in Pro Cruiser because I had my gearing was off a little bit. So I messed around with the bike, changed the gear, and on Sunday I ended up winning A Pro and got a second behind Tanet in Pro Cruiser my first week and now my second pro race. And looking at the video, I whole shotted Terry, and he actually said, hey, if you would have moved over after you snapped on me, you would have won that main. But he had a lot more pull than me, so he ended up getting first and I got a second, which is still cool.
Yeah.
Getting a second your first on the gate for Pro Cruiser.
Yeah, against Terry Tanet too. I mean, that's not like that's a pushover. That's not a pushover. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame material right there. This T right there, And I hope to have him on the show real soon. So so I know you were hanging with the big boys in cruiser and everything. I know you were shredding it up in single A. You're doing some big things out there. So what were some of the biggest accomplishments as far as races? What some of the bigger races that you did well at?
Let's see. In '93 I did well. I turned AA. It took me took me 7-8 months to turn double A.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so I went right through it.
Mm-hmm.
Double A was a whole different animal.
Right. Right. Right.
You know, I got I got treated pretty good in '93.
Oh yeah.
And then early '94, I started training in '94 and started doing good.
Uh-huh.
You know, May of '94, I got a second and 2/3 at the Nationals in Louisville.
Wow.
Louisville.
Wow. That's cool. And the Grands?
So that. Excuse me?
That was the NBL Grands, Louisville, right?
No, it was an ABA National, the Bluegrass Nationals down in Louisville indoor.
Oh, okay, okay. I remember that race. I remember that one. Okay.
You know, and 2 weeks later, you know, I had an incident that actually changed and pretty much ended my double A career.
Oh, what was that?
It was down in Springfield, Illinois. I had been training, and that was 2 weeks after my good finish at the Springfield race.
Uh-huh.
So Sunday in the main, I was up there with Wade Boots, Barry McManus, Jason Richardson, Craig Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a reverse step down into a second left-hand turn after a roller.
Yeah, I remember that. You said it was Springfield. That's before they changed the layout to that track, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened in the main? What happened in the main is I was in second place behind Boots. Me and Barry McManus were battling for the second place in the main. Well, we locked handlebars over the reverse step, and I got thrown over the handlebars head first into the next jump so quick I didn't have time to get my hands out in front of me.
Oh, are you kidding me? You face planted?
Yeah. I guess I had seizures and all that, and my glasses broke in my eyes, and they thought that I lost one of my eyes because of the lens.
Oh man, and for the listeners out there that didn't get to race that track back in the day, that straightaway was very fast. I mean, you're going fast down that triple step down. I had some good races there, but I remember that section. So that's So I mean, was it?
Yeah,
Did you get knocked out?
Well, here's the scary part. All I remember is going into that second turn in second place and waking up in bed Friday morning. So this happened Sunday morning at the Nationals, and I just remember waking up in bed Friday morning.
A week later?
The end of that week.
Oh man.
I don't remember anything that whole week, but my mom said that I still got in my car and drove around and went places, but I have no idea. It's like a week of my life got erased from my life.
Yeah, and that's how concussions are. I've had concussions, but I don't have that long of a gap in my life when I think back to them, but there is some hours missing, from when it happened. So I know exactly what you're talking about. That's scary right there, man. So what was were you done after that?
Well, I was feeling the effects of that post-concussion syndrome for months and months and months. I tried racing. I'd get on the track and I would hit my brakes if I ever got close to making contact with anybody.
Yeah. Oh man, it had you traumatized. Yeah. And
it was, but my sponsor at the time, after I got off Hawk, back up, I was on Hawk from '93 to 92 until summer of '93. They told me turn pro, we're going to take care of you. So I turned pro. Next thing you know, they're sending me frames in the mail to sell to cover my entry fee. So that wasn't what I signed on.
Oh, they sent you the frames to sell for yourself?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, my God. So now you're the Hawk frame salesman.
Exactly. And, Haro wanted to pick me up, but they wanted me to stay amateur, but I already had in my mind I was going to turn pro after I tripled at the Grants.
Oh, wow.
So after selling bikes for a couple months, I got on Lowy Axle, which was a co-sponsor of mine at the time when I was on Hawk.
Yeah, I remember seeing your photos on Lowy's, yeah.
Yeah, so after I got injured, getting my bad results, Lowy Axle, they wanted results. They didn't want excuses, so they dropped me. Actually, I quit the team in early '95 to kind of refocus on what I wanted to do.
Yeah, right, okay.
And that time I decided I'd go back down to single A and start a single A again and try to work my way back up since the cobwebs were starting to clear out of my head.
That's right, yeah. Okay. So is that the direction you went? finish things on out?
Yeah, I won a couple nationals in '95. Went down, won, got a first and a second down in Atlanta. I think that's probably where I met you at that year.
Yeah, it must have been. Because who are you riding for then?
Back then I was riding for, actually, who was I riding for in '95?
Yeah, that was around 95 when I met you. It was 95. I just can't remember who you were riding for.
I think I was just privateer at that time.
Oh, okay.
Because I just got off a blowy axle, so it's kind of the interim.
Yeah, but I'm telling you though, man, you had a great career though, and just sitting here on the phone talking to you like this, and all the memories are coming back to me. Because I was obsessed with the magazines and everything. I think that added to my struggle because I was starstruck a lot longer into my career than I should have been. You get up there, you get starstruck beside those guys. You pretty much beat. So
Yeah. Cause you let them get in your head.
Yeah, that's right. So you have to, to the racers out there, you have to become what you want to be. In your mind, you got to say, "Hey, I'm one of them too." Yeah, that's what's up, though, man. I wish we had a longer show so we could keep on going through the whole thing, but I don't want to run out of time before we talk about the things that you're doing right now for BMX.
All right.
And the cruise. Talk about the cruises. You know what I'm saying? So.
Definitely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Mighty Mo cruises and about this special event you got coming up.
All right. Well, Labor Day weekend, this is going to be the ultimate BMX, get-together family reunion. I conceived it, how it started was a buddy of mine, my friend Rich Reitmeyer, got sick. So I got a bunch of old friends together to surprise him on a cruise. And as that was coming into fruition, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should do something like this and open it up to everybody. Get all the old school, new school guys together and just have a nice little weekend on a ship. And a lot of guys have never been on one, so I'm like, okay,
right.
This is going to be cool.
Right.
So, what I did was I got a hold of, a guest speaker. I got a hold of Craig Reynolds because I looked up to him.
Right.
Pretty much my whole career, and he agreed to come and be the speaker on the cruise.
That is awesome. And Craig Reynolds, I remember him doing some announcing in motocross and all kinds of things. So I didn't know if he was doing public speaking now. Is that what he does now?
Well, no, he's in retail now, out in North or South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
But he used to be commentator on a lot of races for ESPN.
I know, because he was really good too. So that's right up his alley to do something like that.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have all these pro BMXers. Is it just to invitation only? Or is it like any BMXers can come? How's it gonna work?
Well, the one I had last year for my buddy was just for friends, but this is open up to everybody. And what's so cool about this, man, is nothing like this has ever been done in BMX.
No, it hadn't.
It's gonna be all the excitement of being with friends at the races without worrying about being stressed out about racing.
Right. That's right.
During the day, it's gonna be a vacation for guys and girls.
Yeah.
And kids if they want to bring them. And at night, it's going to be BMX oriented. Craig, like I said, is going to be there for a great, cool. a great, evening of him talking about his career and what he's been doing pre and post career, and a question and answer afterwards.
Wow. That is awesome. That's awesome. I know I plan on coming too, because I'm going to interview some of the racers, former racers out there, and just get some sound bites and kind of, make a show out of it. But I want to urge people to go ahead and sign up with you. So how do you get signed up for something like this? Because it's going to be like a BMX reunion. That's what it sounds like a reunion. To see all those old faces, that'd be awesome. So how do they get
that's what it's all about, because when I retired back in 2009, there's a lot of guys that I haven't seen since I hung up the bike for the last time. And it's a good way for guys to get together that hadn't seen each other in years, or in this case, in decades. Yeah, it's going to be over Labor Day weekend out of Miami to the Bahamas. Just a 3-nighter, which is going to be good for some that are worried about time off of work, with it being Labor Day on that Monday, a lot of people should have the day off of work, for a holiday. So it should be a lot easier for people to get to.
Yeah, that will be nice and everything. And like I said, I'm going to have an open invitation for you to come back on the show. And we're going to put a promo on the station so people that's listening can hear it, on a daily basis on His Hop Radio. And I'm going to keep mentioning too, but we're going to have open invitation for you to be able to come back and when it gets a little closer to remind people to go ahead and get registered. Now, as far as registration, what do they have to do for that?
Well, you go to the Facebook page, Mighty Mo BMX Cruise.
Okay.
And that'll give you all the details. And fortunately for me, my wife happens to be, a top travel agent that specializes in Royal Caribbean cruises. That's how we were able to, get our rooms all blocked off, and she'll, do whatever she has to do to get you guys on.
That's cool, man. Cool. That's great things you're doing. And I hope this becomes something that's happening every year, like an annual event. That's what would be cool, Because
I'm hoping this becomes an annual, BMX destination.
Yeah.
Get bigger and bigger every year.
And and another thing that's cool about it is that you're giving back to BMX, and you're giving the old legends life again, so to speak. Because a lot of these kids in the sport now, they don't study the history of the sport. They don't know about the Mighty Mo's and the Terry Tennets and all these legendary riders, John Percy. I could just go on, and they don't really know the history of them. I know that for a fact because back when I was racing in the 90s, we have the young kids on the team in the tour bus, and you talk about Stu Thompson, you talk about Tommy Brackens, they'll be like, who? And I'm like, what? Y'all don't know the history of the sport that you in? So,
and that's sad because I think BMX is one of the only sports where the younger generation don't know about the legends,
right?
Like the Gary Ellis's and the Pistol Pete's and the Christophe Levesque.
Yeah, and I think it's up to us, the older, the former BMXers or whatever, that we are, to use our platforms. Like you're using what you got, I'm using what I got, and like people like Colin Stiles, they're out there doing Rail the Berm, and we're trying to keep everything going, keep it going.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure exactly what their direction is on Rail the Berm, but we're doing something, bringing the old heads back in the picture. So I think that's just dope.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'm loving it too, brother. I'm loving it too. Before we get ready.
Oh, hey, let me tell you one quick funny story.
Oh, go ahead. That's what. Okay.
I
love good stories. I love that. Go ahead.
Okay, the first big national main I made was in '88, the Lone Star Nationals down in Texas. Saturday was Cowtown BMX. Sunday was Dallas County Cycle Park. My high school graduation was a plane ticket down to Austin. My buddy Rich was in the Army station down in Killeen, Fort Hood.
Okay.
So we went to the Nationals, and I made my second main ever against Steve Beltman, Jeff Donnell. So I'm on the gate. The gate drops. I think I'm doing good. Next thing you know, I start feeling a pain on the back of my neck. What? Dude, I put my helmet down on a pile of fire ants. They started biting me during the main.
Oh my God!
So,
what?
So I didn't stop, but I couldn't go as fast as I wanted to because I had preoccupied by these ants on me.
You said,
so I got to cross the finish line.
Like, oh man, feel like a pinched nerve. What is it?
Yeah. So got out and threw the helmet and just started dousing my neck with the water. But that's just one of.
Oh my God.
One of the little.
Yeah,
one thing I had to overcome.
That's why I gotta do a special episode of BMX stories from the road. You got me thinking now. I gotta get you back on to do that. Just chop up on some stories because I got some too. You say something about ants. One of our buddies on our team, we went down to Florida and couldn't find a hotel once, so we just went to the track because we had looked for a hotel for like 4.5 hours. So we just ended up going and parking at the track. We're going to sleep outside, where in Florida, you're close to the equator. It's really hot down there. So we didn't want to stay in the van and leave the AC on for, gas reasons. So we just go lay out on the ground. And one guy that was with us, I won't say his name, but he took some of our old pizza boxes, made him a special bed, and he was bragging on it, laid it out in the middle of the Florida sand out there at the track. And by midnight, he had got eaten up by fire ants because he's laying on pizza boxes. And the next morning he woke up with bites all over his body. So I got my fire ant story. But ride with him in a helmet, that's a good one right there. That's number one. That's
Yeah, note yourself when you're racing in Texas. Don't put your helmet on the ground.
That's right. Check your helmet. That's
Yes, sir.
awesome, bro. That's awesome, man. Look, bro, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I'm definitely going to get with you about that cruise, and we're also going to do some massive promotion and everything for it, to get the word out for it. I think it's a great thing you're doing, I really do, bro.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks.
And also, before we go, you got any shout-outs you want to give, anything, for people that supported you along the way on your journey?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to give a big shout-out to my mom, Hope Gail Tillman, for, driving me all over on minimal sleep, always having my back, and, always being there to, be a shoulder to lean on and cry on, in my victories and in my defeats. And, big shout out to Rich Reitmeyer for getting me started in the first place. A lot of things that happened in my life had to do with Rich, so I thank and love you, Rich. Thanks for everything, and Bill Elkin for always being there through thick and thin. And last but not least, I want to thank my beautiful wife Anita for always being there, loving and supporting me, and helping me get this cruise together.
Yes, sir. Behind every great man's a great woman, man. You know what I'm saying? Sir. That's all right there. You did it up, bro. I'm so proud of you, Mo. I really am, bro. I'm glad we
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad we hooked up. We connected like this, friends for life, right there.
Yeah, that means a lot. Us BMXers, we're all joined. We're linked like chains.
That's right, man. And I'm about to get back out here on this track this year. So I can't get. I've gotten to the point. I'm driving in my car and I see a pile of dirt, and I imagine myself jumping it. So I know I still got. I got the bug. I mean, it's getting ridiculous lately.
Hey, quiet as kept. I get the itch every now and then, mostly every now. So you never know.
That's right. You never know, man.
Yeah.
That's what's up, bro. That's what's up. I want you to hang right there on the phone while I go ahead and close this episode of Hurricane Maine's BMX Legends class out. All right?
All right.
Okay. I want to thank all of you listeners for tuning in for this special episode of BMX Legends Class 2.0 with Mighty Mo, Moses Tillman. Remember the name for those of you kids that haven't been studying your history. And I know a lot of people are listening because the promo just got such great response. And I thank all of you for all your likes, all your hearts, and even all your wows that you put on this post. I worked real hard at this, and just see my vision coming together to be able to give back to the sport that I've loved for my entire life. So I just want to thank everyone, and once again, thank you, Mighty Mo, and God bless you all.